What is up? We're back. And if you ever wonder what it looks like to lose control of your professional life, I'm wearing a Dracula cape. I feel like Justin Bieber with this collar popped this high. And everyone in the booth is... This looks... Some of y'all look scary, man. Like I look over and it just looks terrifying. This is a Halloween episode. Is this coming out on Halloween?
Yes, this comes out on Monday, October 31st.
If you had just gone, "Gah, gah," that would have been incredible. So it is Halloween today, so happy Halloween, everybody. So we want to take a minute and talk about the psychology of horror movies, scary movies, being scared, because there's some actual real data around it, some actual real psychology around it. And just so happened, we've been planning this for several weeks, and it just so happened that one of my favorite writers and podcasters, named Dr. Peter Attia, Attia. He has the Drive podcast, phenomenal. It's a very, very, very deep dive into how physiology works and longevity, but it's good, especially if you're a nerd. But he wrote an article this weekend. Him and Catherine Birkenbach wrote an article called "The Paradox of Horror," and so. I'm gonna go through some of the stuff that they pull up here and then talk about a few other ideas about what's in the literature, in the scientific literature, on why we love scaring ourselves. Real quick, Ben, Jenna, everybody, what's your favorite scary movie of all time?
I have to say probably Halloween, the original, but I'm a huge fan of the new movie Black Phone.
I've got to see that.
I've seen it 3 times and it's just amazing.
All right, I'll see it. All right, I'll check it out. You've been telling me to watch that. Okay, Ben, what do you think?
I gotta say, Paranormal Activity,
dude.
Like the OG, the first one.
That's on the very top of my list. Yeah, Jenna.
Can I just say Nightmare Before Christmas, because I don't like to be scared.
Well, it's a cartoon, but if that scares you, then teach your own.
No, it doesn't scare me. That's why I like it. Or Edward Scissorhands. That one's pretty good too.
Again, more of a love story, but it's cool.
I don't
scary.
like the jump scares. If it's gonna make me pee my pants, I don't want to watch it.
That's fair.
So
that's fair. Just you staring at me through the glass with that terrifying mask on. He's just a barnyard animal. He's just a what is that, a llama?
Yeah, I scare myself looking at the camera. I also don't do scary movies.
Very good. Okay, so I think mine is, my wife tells me that, like, back in the day when I used to be a rebel rouser, my jaw would get a particular way before I got in a fight. And then I would start laughing. I would start cracking up. And the first time I saw Paranormal Activity, the original one, I went home and I was laying in my bed laughing. Like, I thought it was on. I could not shake that movie. That was terrifying. Blair Witch Project, when it first came out, there was all that hype around it. That was intense. It just kept ratcheting up. And then I have to admit, the first Scream 1, if you don't know, Scream 1, Drew Barrymore was at the front of, was the cast, and by spoiler alert, just hit the fast forward button if you don't want to hear it. But Drew Barrymore was the big star at the time. Huge, like, famous star, had a bunch of big movies out, and she was the first person on the poster, right? And then she's killed off in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the movie. And I remember just being in the theater looking at my buddy being like, what do you do? What happens now? I don't know what happens now. And then the whole movie was just an unwinding of, they kept thinking, like, they kept leaning towards, this is who the person is, this is who the person is. And it never was, dude, it was awesome. And then the ending I didn't see coming. It was a phenomenal movie. I just remember leaving it going, whoa, it was terrifying. Silence of the Lambs, all those movies are terrifying. All right. So here's the question that's posed by Dr. Attia and Dr. Birkenbach. Are there any other species on Earth that deliberately scare ourselves? Do squirrels cross the road and sit in the middle to see how long they can wait? I always wonder that. Or do deer run up to wolves and, like, scare them and then try to sprint away to see if they can make it? Probably not. So why do we do this? Is it just for adrenaline? Do we do this just to amp ourselves up? Well, it turns out that possibly it could be to improve our mental health. That sounds weird. Here's what the researchers say. This is from a study, a meta-analysis Colton Scrivener and Kara Christensen note that individuals with high anxiety report greater enjoyment of horror than their less anxious peers, suggesting that engagement with horror media results in outcomes, namely reduction in anxiety symptoms that tend to reinforce this engagement in anxious individuals. Sounds weird. If I go scare myself, it can make me a little less anxious. So we know that the only way through anxiety, to heal it, is to go right through the middle of it. The more you run from it, the more it reinforces itself. So there's something about turning and staring it down. And here's what the authors suggest. It fully captures our attention. Watching a scary movie, you get engrossed in somebody else's life. And again, one of the devils of anxiety is it makes it about you. You're about to die. You're about to get rejected. You're about to get laughed at. And when you watch a scary movie, you're saying to yourself, they're about to get hatchet murdered, or they're about to get disemboweled on some cruise ship, or whatever movie you're watching, I don't know. Or if you're Jenna, like Rapunzel's about to let her hair down out of the tower. I don't know what horror movie you watch, but like you're thinking about somebody else, right? It fully engrosses you and takes you out of yourself into somebody else's story. Pretty cool. Humans are hardwired to bias their attention towards imminent threats. It's super helpful if you're anxious when you see somebody else's threats, right? Another one, it gives us a sense of control over our anxiety. We have very limited ability to change or remove most of our day-to-day sources of anxiety. Inflation, job security, the next possible COVID variant, all that. But murderous clowns on the TV, all I got to do is turn the lights on. All I got to do, Kelly loves clowns. All I got to do is turn the film off. I'm in control of this. And the worst thing that happens here is that person gets murdered, not me, right? So there's this pseudo control. It provides, and this is the one that resonated with me, it provides a safe means of facing threats and practicing resilience, okay? Practice. I say that all the time. It teaches me how to practice. It teaches me how to, oh gosh, who's going to die? Who's going to die? And then that tension is released, the endorphins are released, and I'm still alive. So in a weird way, my body is practicing being terrified, being under threat, and surviving that threat. And then it creates a physiology and a psychology for living after the threat. They write, some researchers have noted this phenomenon may reflect the human desire to learn about relevant threats and to understand how dangerous a situation might look, which reactions yield the best outcomes. It's like our brains are practicing what happens if there's an actual outbreak, or our brains are practicing what do we do if somebody walks in our house in slow motion with a hatchet and they start chopping everybody up. Or if you're Jenna and it's a really scary cartoon, Tom and Jerry just get, right? Whatever's going on. So unlike their real world counterparts, horror films have a definite endpoint. We can typically expect that they'll conclude with a satisfying resolution of the problem. The threat is neutralized and the good guys prevail. So it's a way for us to enter into terrifying situations and be a part of them, but not all the way. Not all the way. It can also promote social bonding. Here's a couple of other ideas. Dolph Zillman created a theory called excitation transfer theory. This suggests that people love watching scary things because their body rolls into fight or flight, and then it's excised, and then your body fills up with endorphins. You get high, right? So it's like runner's high a little bit. You get it's feelings of relief, feelings of laughter, feelings of like wow man, like it's relief. And so people watch scary movies. They endure the gross stuff to get high on the back end. The other one is like we said, it's a way to experience fear, terror, scary things, and see them resolved, right? See them end. And then the final one is curiosity. Curiosity. I hadn't thought of that before, but some people hear about weird this and that. They wonder, like, I don't know, I've never seen somebody get murdered. This is a way to get the pictures in your mind without actually having to experience it. Because if you experience it, you may not make it out. And so those are some of the ideas. Here's what I've found in my life. I was obsessed, big shocker, with scary movies. It used to be when I was high school and college, I saw every single one, all of them, 100% of them. I never missed, never missed. I had a buddy, man. We went to all of them. We got every one of those weird B movies we could find. We were all into the genre. And it did over time ratchet up my anxiety, I believe. That's just me. It's N equals one experiment. The more I filled my head with that stuff, the more I began seeing threats everywhere. Or more importantly, feeling threatening things. Somebody would walk into a restaurant and I had a picture in my head of the guy that walks in the restaurant and just, pulls out a blowtorch and melts everybody. Like I had that picture in my head, and it was an unreasonable picture because we're at Burger King at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, right? It's not going to happen. But I had that picture in my head. It's kind of like our overconsumption of media right now. We think there are shooters everywhere, and there's not. There's not. But because our media, like our news feeds, cannot put out a news feed without some murder happening. If you look at it, sometimes it'll say so-and-so shot and killed by so-and-so. And it says Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I live in Florida, right? They're going to find somewhere in the country to put some fear in front of you because that fear, it's engrossing, right? And so I found that as I walked away from it, I just had more peace in my life. That's just my experience. And here's the other thing. When I started working with the police department, my dad worked in homicide, and I remember as a little kid, he had a throwaway comment. He said, "I can't believe you'd watch this stuff for entertainment." And I remember being like, "Oh, you're such an old man, dude. What a boring old man." When I started going into people's homes at 2 a.m. and there was actual blood and actual guts and actual screaming and actual weeping, dude, horror movies became not fun at all. Like I haven't watched one in years because I started seeing this stuff for real. And I started sitting with people for real. And so in my life, I don't need it. I miss the old scary movies. I am going to watch Black Phone just because Kelly said it's such a great movie. But once I started getting involved in the messy lives of my neighbors and community members and family members and friends, man, I didn't need any more. I didn't need any more scary, I didn't need more horror, any more whatever. No judgment on anybody who does, man. Because I've been there. I love them. But once I started actively putting both feet into my community, I got plenty of scary moments and hard moments and tense moments, right? And the world's a tense and scary place right now. So let's follow Jenna's. Yeah, let's just watch some happy stuff.